Hey guys, thank you so much for coming back to the OTWO Pod and joining us. Again, this is the Cadiz special. We are so happy that you have joined us for this. And a special thank you to Paul Balban for joining us in Cádiz and for our kind of celebration, as to say, for the O2. We've gone back to print and Paul has given a really, really cool discussion, and he's been part of a discussion panel, haven't you?
Yeah, Cádiz is a lovely place. It starts off Eurovelo 8, which is the tourists, it's this bicycle lane, so to speak, that runs all the way from Cadiz to Izmir in Turkey. One of the longest Eurovelo 8
That's
routes.
That's a tourism thing, right?
That's a tourism, cycle tourism, and it goes all the way up the Mediterranean coast, Atlantic coast, and then through France, through Italy and Greece, and it ends up in Izmir in Turkey. So it's an amazing place. You know, I think the people, the administration in Cádiz have done a great work, and in Spain as well, to be able to get this, you know, rolling. There's still a lot of work to be done in Spain to link the routes.
There is. I mean, so this is where it stops. It ends.
This is where it starts. This is where it starts. It
right.
starts. It starts, or in principle, it ends. But they say it starts here, and it goes all throughout the Mediterranean and Atlantic.
So you've mentioned Eurovelo 8. So there's
many routes. You've got I think Eurovelo. There's another Eurovelo that goes through the west of Portugal. Another one that goes all the way through central Spain towards the UK.
Wow. And
others that go through, you know, Germany, Italy. They're all over Europe. An incredible network of.
And you can imagine that is a huge community of people. That I mean, if there's actually, you know, different routes and how many routes are there done, that means that it's a popular sort of situation.
Yeah, and in terms of cycle tourism and the way that sustainable tourism, I think it's the way to go. I mean, it takes a lot longer than flying or than driving, but you know, it's like
you see much more of the landscape.
Exactly, you're actually there, because the beauty about cycling is that you travel at the right speed to be able to see things. If you walk, things take a little bit too long.
Yeah.
If you ride a motorbike or you drive, things just go past you very, very quickly. But by cycling, it's so easy then to come back and explore the place that you say, oh, that looks nice, and you've passed, you can come back.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to go.
Cycle tourism is pretty interesting. I mean, there's no Eurovelo that comes down to Gib.
That's one thing that I always wanted to do. The closest to Gibraltar gets is Sotogrande.
Right.
So Eurovelo 8 goes to Castilla la Frontera, it comes to Sotogrande, then it goes to Guadiaro. And I've always wanted Eurovelo 8, and I don't see the reason why it can't end in La Linea and then restart, because we've developed parts of our bicycle lanes in Gibraltar anyway, and Gibraltar is such an important place geographically anyway. It's the pillar of Hercules. It's one of the pillars of Hercules, and from Gibraltar has incredible views of the Straits of Gibraltar and Northern Africa. So I wouldn't see why, you know, the Eurovelo group wouldn't want to include this route. I know there's a lot of bicycle lanes coming south now. So La Linea and San Roque, you can get the bicycle lanes starting just Guadarranque area. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
And that will link up. Well, it already links up to La Via Verde. Yeah. That goes all the way to Castilla.
So this would improve our tourism sort of for Gibraltar. I mean, it would open up a completely new tourism. I mean, it's rare that a cyclist would not want, a cyclist that's doing, you know, they're having their holidays on a bicycle, it's rare that it wouldn't come to Gibraltar. That's one of the things that one of the bucket list things, no? Yeah. So, but if you actually had a bicycle lane, you know, completed bicycle lane, fully signed, all the way into Gibraltar, then, I mean, it'd mean that you'd have more cyclists, more tourism. Would you have an idea on how many people are actually in this Eurovelo sort of, how popular it is? Do you have an idea on that? No, well, there is Eurovelo routes are part of the ECF, the European Cycling Federation. So they're the ones that control who. That's their project. The Eurovelo project is theirs. So we've had people that have gone to the Eurovelo conferences on a bicycle, and they've cycled for days on a bicycle to get there sustainably, and then cycle back. So it's remember, bicycle lanes, especially when they're out, when it's rural, it's a bit like train tracks. Yeah. So you rarely see a train when you're walking past or driving past a railway line. You rarely see a train
coming along.
Yeah.
And that's because it's such an efficient mode of transport that when it moves hundreds of people at a time. And bicycle lanes really are the same thing. In Gibraltar, for example, you get the massive rush from 8 in the morning to about 9:30 in the morning, and then there's this apparent lull, and people think, well, no one's using these bicycle lanes. Do we need them? Why not give the parking back? But when they move, when it's a rush hour, and both at 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and also 3:30, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6, you get this huge rush. And the Eurovelo route's the same. You'd have to statistically count how many people use those bicycle lanes in a given time period, because you could be sitting there for a long time. It's like Ruta Santiago.
Yeah.
I mean, in the densest areas, most popular routes of Ruta Santiago, you'll see lots of pilgrims.
Yeah.
But there'll be times that you wouldn't see it. I mean, we have one Ruta that leaves from La Línea and goes all the way up to Santiago de Compostela, and you'd rarely see someone doing el camino.
Yeah,
whereas in Pontevedra, where we were recently, together, you would see pilgrims there. So it's the way.
It just gives the fact, I mean, following from the comment that you gave on an article that we had actually in this month's edition, based on data and how important data is, it just gives and it reinforces that message, right? The importance of having data so that you know exactly what you're doing and the impact that it's having. Because, I mean, people can have different perceptions of stuff, but it's because you're not seeing it in the right given time.
So data is paramount. Data is critical. I am a stickler for data. So which means to say, the moment that in Gibraltar the government opened Kingsway bicycle lane, there should have been data collection. Because that would always give you data and figures for the future. And as the east side is being developed, you'll be able to see how many people start using that stretch of bicycle lane. Because what you need to have, first of all, is a log of how many cyclists or e-scooters, even because it's micro-mobility, are coming through the frontier. So you have that's your main figure. And then what you want to see is how they divide. And they will, all of them, not all of them, most of them will go through the airport, but some of them will now go to the east side. So you need to see what comes in and then how it divides. Over time, you may find as the population in the east grows, you will find that more people will take the route to the east. At the moment, they go along the runway. But then what happens when they hit the bicycle lane, those that are going to go towards Waterport will keep on the bicycle lane, but those that want to go to Linewell Road will depart from the bicycle lane, or they'll hit the bicycle lane until the roundabout at Ocean Village and leave the bicycle lane there. And then again, people get annoyed because they say, well, you've built a bicycle lane, people aren't using it. But it's important to know why people aren't using it, because they're going somewhere else. So data is incredible, and we've had an enormous amount of problems with the data collection system in Gibraltar. And for me, it's it's crazy, because it really makes me really quite upset, because that data is what tells us, at least into the future, how things are improving or how things are getting worse. Because what happens is, the moment that you see that numbers start dwindling, and it shouldn't happen now because I think it's growing, even though the data is suggesting there's been 8,000 trips less per month. So data is wrong, it must be wrong, but that's the data we have. So we have to say there's 8,000 trips less a month, which is crazy. But the moment that you see, if that was a real figure, then it's time for the policymaker to decide what they want for their city. And if what they want for their city is a cycling city, a more sustainable city, a green city, a child-friendly city, what you need to do is have campaigns and create strategies that will increase the attractiveness of cycling. How you do that? Cycling buses to school, you can do it by more open days, more events, more cycling days, celebrate World Cycling Day, celebrate every single charity day. For example, if it's cancer, if it's Cancer Day, if it's Alzheimer's Day, if it's Dementia Day, have a parallel cycle event, which is what we used to have. I used to organise when I was there as a policymaker, because that just gives more prominence, to the cyclists, and that's important. And so really, there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of work to be done locally. I know. I mean, and you go to places like this, and it kind of, for me, it regenerates my batteries, because you kind of feel that it is possible to have something like this, albeit this place is huge compared to Gibraltar, you know, so you have to be realistic with the areas that you do have. But this is why statistics is quite important to have, because you need to know where you're going right, where you're going wrong, and then make sure that you adjust.
It's the backbone. For me, it's the data. Statistics is the backbone, because from there you can make scientific evaluations, and you can then take decisions which are important to go where you want to go.
So as bicycle mayor, is there anything that you have a goal for, a scope for? Is there anything that is particularly your goal for 2025 and onwards?
Yeah, for me, I've already said it already in one of the articles I wrote on LinkedIn, is that I am disappointed. It's been a year and a half now since I left, and I have seen, you know, that things have slowed down quite a bit, partly to do with funding, partly to do with whatever. I mean, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I was driving it. It was very unpopular, but I was driving it. I was physical because I thought that was the best way forward,
and
that people. I do absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's something which is very difficult. I'd like to see a continuation of that network. I'd like to see, you know, the bicycling continue along water gardens.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see the water gardens itself become a more public area. It's a very wide space between Devil's Tongue Wall and the facade of water gardens. Is hugely wide.
Yeah.
And it's a dual carriageway in the middle of a built-up area with 2 comprehensive schools, and then nearby another 3 schools.
Yeah.
It's really the heart of Gibraltar, other than Main Street. So having a dual carriageway tearing through, you know, such an area. I mean, there should be more. We could have a bus lane, we could have a bicycle lane, we could have, you know, cars parked in a different fashion to be able to allow people to come to cross fertilize the businesses. They can come, and then in the evening they can use that parking for themselves. People who live in the area, but you want to give more space, social space to the restaurants. You want to see people enjoying themselves, having coffee, having a meal. You want to see people outside enjoying themselves, because what you don't want to see is children playing with their computers at home because it's dangerous or scary to play outside. And this is the issue we have. Before the car arrived many years ago, the street was our place.
Yeah.
Was where we socialized, where we met friends, where we did business, where we met our partners. That was the street then. Nowadays, and children played in the streets. Now the car arrived, and all of a sudden the streets become dangerous.
So is that your
we
goal?
have to. Well, my goal really is to try to encourage and lobby and try to, you know, push, you know, the government as much as possible, as the policymakers, to try to continue the work that was done, to try to, you know, continue with the network, try to encourage cycling proficiency at schools. I really want to see cycling proficiency at schools to make it safer for the children, and to give the children the basis that they need, and the parents the confidence that they want, so they can feel comfortable that the children are cycling on the street as safely as possible.
Confidence is key.
I'd like to see the cycling bus. I'd like to see the walking bus. I'd like to see, you know, less dependence on the car. Not because it's very easy to say, well, he's anti-car. I'm not. I love my cars. I don't find them as attractive as I used to anymore, because I've got used to a different life. But I think that people, you know, need to understand. Yeah, and we do need cars. We're a frontier town. We come into Spain to drive. Some people live in the South District. Some people need to take elderly family to hospital. There's always a need for the car. But for the rest of us, for people who really go in A to B trips, and I was going to say on your own, but nowadays with bicycles, you can see, you know, a mum and a child, or you can see, you know, there's tandems, there's more ways that they're becoming, you know, people carriers, bicycles as well.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of coming.
We're definitely with you there, and you know that we are. We know that there could be a better future, and a more easier sort of environment that we could have and live in Gibraltar. So definitely, thank you so much for coming again and joining me on this, and you definitely have somebody here that believes in the same thing that you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining. Bye.